There we go. There we go. I forgot to hit the turn on the microphone audio. That's a necessity. All right. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I wasn't saying much. It was just telling me we only had one viewer at first. Now we got 8. That seems about regular. We got Danny, we got Conspiracy Buff, we got My Bohemian Girlfriend. We got Nab Fox, Crusading Fish, B-Test Lover Greg. Hey, how are all of y'all? How are all of y'all doing today? I hope you're doing splendidly. I feel like I recognize most of your usernames. I think Nab Fox might be new. At least new to the book club stream. I'm getting text notifications trying to tell me I need to pay car insurance to Geico, but I just switched to Progressive, so Geico can go away. Because Progressive is, for 6 months of coverage, is offering to give me, I pay them less money than I would for 2 months at Geico. So bye Geico. Where did my chat box go? That's fine. That's fine. Maybe that's fine. You know what? Actually, I just asked you guys how y'all are all doing today. So maybe let me check in and see how y'all are doing. Got a sore throat, but I feel better. Well, if a sore throat makes you feel better, then I'm glad you... No, I assume you mean you feel better than when you first got the sore throat. Good. Going to listening to you and doing my laundry. Hey, laundry is important. I need to do mine shortly. You guys made me realize that Bruce Timm lied to me about B-Test not having Jason Todd. Well, that's all Paul Dini's fault. But today we're hopping into chapters 7 and 8 of Harley Quinn Mad Love, the 2018 novelization of the comic and cartoon classic. Oh, Danny says, I'm doing all right. Not happy at all about certain political stuff going on over here in the UK at the moment, but otherwise I'm okay. I feel like I've caught the fringes of what you may be talking about, but I haven't actually looked into it. I've seen a lot of Jeremy Corbyn discourse on the timeline this morning. But yeah, so today we're hopping into chapter 7 and 8 of Mad Love, the novelization of the what you call it, of the comic and cartoon classic Harley Quinn origin story. If you've missed the first 6 chapters, essentially it was all kind of backstory that wasn't at all present in the... Excuse me. That wasn't all present in the cartoon or the comic. A lot of baby Harley Quinn, some college Harley Quinn, which we got 4 panels of in the comic, but we got 2 whole chapters of in here. But today we are finally coming to Arkham Asylum. So usually what we do here, if you haven't been with us before, is we read a chapter, we take some notes, as far as timeline, canonicity, stuff that you would either... Oh, did I go back a chapter? I didn't mean to go back a chapter. Stuff that you would see, on a wiki and or in a Watchtower database video, more or less. There it is. There's chapter 7. So let me pop this onto the full screen, and we'll hop into the 2-page chapter 7. Where'd the full screen go? There it is. And then we'll take some notes off of that. It's 2 pages in the PDF, it seems. No, wait. Oh, it's more than 2 pages in the PDF. What was I looking at? I saw something that looked like chapter 7 was only 2 pages, so I don't know. It's more than 2 pages now. Maybe the next page just hadn't loaded. But that's all right. We're hopping to chapter 7. We're reading that. We're taking notes. You know, all that kind of stuff. No more repeating myself. Time to read. A mere 2 years ago, Dr. Joan Leland had been at Arkham Asylum for 15 years and the head of psychiatry for the last 6. She was the first woman to serve in the position, and, barring unforeseen circumstances, she planned to be there until she retired 20 years from now. It was what she wanted, but her predecessor, Dr. Antonio Lopez, had told her it was just as well. After you'd been at Arkham for an extended period of time, changing jobs could be difficult. Other doctors tended to be nervous around you, as if you might be as dangerous as the inmates. She had to admit, albeit reluctantly, there was something to that. When she attended medical conferences, her colleagues looked at her apprehensively, as if they had no idea what she would do next. Once, after a long day of lectures and panel discussions, she joined a few other psychiatrists in the bar for drinks and tried breaking the ice with a joke about the voices in her head taking the night off. Within 5 minutes, her colleagues had decided to go to bed early. But it was Joan Leland's innate sense of duty that had made her decide to stay at Arkham. It wasn't easy to find doctors and nurses willing to work in a place that housed the most dangerous psychotics and psychopaths in the country. It wasn't just the fact that the job could be dangerous. Everyone on the staff had been through several unpleasant incidents, and even the minor ones could be hard to shake off. Despite security measures tighter than any other hospital, and even a few prisons, inmates sometimes escaped. The staff and their families became targets for payback, for sadistic compulsions, or simply for the hell of it. And it's time to turn the page. Give me the next page. There was a team of burly orderlies, as well as a state-of-the-art security system to deal with the job's inherent dangers. They had nothing comparable for the larger problem, viz? Okay. Many of the patients were broken beyond repair. This was antithetical to the whole concept of the practice of medicine. The conscientious doctor was supposed to find some way to treat a patient, or, if all else failed, administer palliative care to relieve their suffering. Treating mental illness wasn't the same as treating a disease like cancer or emphysema or COPD, but advances in pharmacology had produced better psychotropic drugs. Many patients, who in an earlier time would have been institutionalized and forgotten, now had a chance at some kind of life. But these weren't the kind of patients who usually ended up at Arkham. The vast majority of mentally ill people... I should probably hold it with 2 hands. The vast majority of mentally ill people were more likely to be victims of crime than perpetrators. Many patients in Arkham, however, were dangerous, not simply... I love that they put that in there, right? Because there's been over time, there's been a lot of, discourse about how Batman the Animated Series, specifically paints mentally ill people as, dangerous. And while this doesn't undo it, it's nice that, whether it was Pat Cadigan or Paul Dini who specifically put that line in, I would like to think it was Pat. It goes to show that they're at least acknowledging the problem, and they would like to be like, look, that's just for the sake of fiction. That's not how it is in reality. So that's really, really cool. Many patients in Arkham, however, were dangerous, not simply because they were insane, but because they were psychopaths. Psychopathy was incurable and difficult to treat or just manage even insane criminals. Prison therapists had learned to their horror that therapy only taught psychopaths how to fool a parole board. A psychotic psychopath was the patient from hell. For one thing, you couldn't be absolutely sure they were psychotic. Thus, medication might be pointless. Worse, the patient might hoard pills to sell to other patients or unscrupulous staff members, usually orderlies, but not always. It was hard to fill staff vacancies at all, let alone find someone with an unwavering moral compass, flawless ethics, and nerves of steel to withstand the ambience of a place full of crazy, dangerous people. For what the state considered a decent, even competitive salary. In Arkham Asylum, nothing was what it seemed. Things could change from moment to moment. You had to second guess everything, even third or fourth guess it, and do it fast. This was not what most people who became doctors or nurses really wanted to do. Most doctors wanted to heal, or at least help. They had come to the profession with ideals, planning to follow the noble tradition of Hippocrates. A lot of them were surprised to find, when they finally became real-life physicians, that Hippocrates' instruction to first do no harm wasn't actually included in the formal oath. Nonetheless, Dr. Leland knew as well as anyone this sentiment was foremost in all doctors' minds and hearts when they began their careers. There was a lot more to the Hippocratic oath than primum non nocere? Nocere, is that right? It included, among other things, the art of medicine as well as the science, compassion, and the willingness to share knowledge, as well as the admonition to avoid both overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. All right, real quick, since this is longer than the 2 pages I thought it was, we've come to a page break. So now is the perfect time for me to hop over and note the couple of things that we've just learned. I didn't merge my cells from last time. That's all right. Let's pop that up there. We're on chapter 7. Oh, let me stretch that back out. That way that column is good and fits. Okay, so we have had, we've had Dr. Joan Leland has shown up. We had a mention of Dr. Antonio Lopez. And we had a mention of Hippocrates. And I believe that's all the characters so far, yeah. I'm just gonna put that he was mentioned because he's not around for present day. Locations, we have Arkham Asylum. Were any other locations mentioned? Did y'all catch any? I did not catch any. I think it's just been Arkham. I think we had mentions of a bar, but that was it. Objects, nothing really yet. Nothing that seems non-canon. We do have some fun timeline stuff, though. We know a bit more about Joan Leland now. Joan Leland had been at this chapter is set 2 years ago. That's on page 56. Joan Leland had been at Arkham for 15 years. She has been head of psychiatry for the last 6. I'll put that all into one. Excuse me. And plans to retire in 20 years. Let me wrap the text in that box, because that looks ugly. Y'all ever seen text that looks more ugly than that? There we go. That looks beautiful. Nothing really for the concrete section. Oh, I just noticed this one's not wrapped either. Nothing really for the concrete section. That's for like when we have something that has like a concrete origin, like the Riddler or Mr. Freeze or the Bat Signal have, you know, concrete origin episodes. Pop culture, we have Hippocrates mentioned, but I already put him as a character. Weather, other clues. Okay, so we're good so far. Which style do you like better, Danny Phantom or DCAU? I mean, they're both valid for the different things that they try to do. You know, I would not. I don't think that the shows would work if they switched them. Won't bog down the chat with the details. But to put it in the most basic way possible, bullshit smear campaign worked like a charm, and I'm very mad about it. Yeah, that's always the way. This book needed an audiobook version. Until now, big ups, my man Maddie. We've been discussing maybe doing like audiobook stuff for patrons, which essentially would just be like edited down versions of these reads. But then like I trip over random, you know, pronunciation, so I don't know. Marge changed the channel. No, you, Jacob. You should read the chat with a random accent. I don't know about that, Greg. Man, I can't wait for you to get a new computer. The lag's only about 30 seconds, so it's not bad, but it still throws me off a bit. Oh, well, I'm bummed that it's still lagging. I literally moved like everything off of this computer recently. Doesn't TMBA take place 2 years after B-test? Closer to 3. Align top. No, you, James. Once it's all over, I'll align it. But like that's not something that needs to be dealt with while I'm streaming. There had been 6 full-time psychiatrists at Arkham until Dr. Vincenzo had retired. That name sounds familiar. I wanna look it up right now. I'm looking it up. Dr. Vincenzo. DC Comics. Darren Vincenzo was a comic book editor. He worked mainly for DC Comics during the 90s. Okay, so it's just a gag name. Got it. There had been 6 full-time psychiatrists at Arkham until Dr. Vincenzo had retired. Dr. Leland had prepared herself for a long, arduous search for someone to replace him, but to her astonishment, an application came in the day after Vincenzo left, and mirabile dictu, not from someone who had graduated last in their med school class and barely got through residency, but from the accomplished young woman Dr. Leland was about to show around the facility. Dr. Harleen Quinzel arrived for her first day on the job in the same kind of seriously professional outfit she'd worn for her interview. The tailored navy blue suit, cream-colored silk blouse, straight skirt, and conservative black pumps made her look like she always knew exactly what to do. The no-nonsense black framed glasses added to the effect, as did her neat French roll hairdo. Her appearance projected confident competence, but if you looked twice, you'd notice she was also gorgeous, which had been why Dr. Leland had hesitated to hire her, even with her amazing med school transcript and the many glowing references, all of which had checked out. So, here she was, about to give this young, unwary woman a tour of what Dr. Lopez had called Hell's Waiting Room. They had just come up the short flight of stairs from the mezzanine level where all the doctor's offices were located and started down the main corridor in long-term wing A, when the red and yellow ceiling lights began to flash and the alarms went off. Even after 15 years, Joan Leland always jumped when this happened. But lovely, young Dr. Quinzel didn't even flinch. She only looked around, eyebrows raised in an expression of mild curiosity. "Code Croc!" yelled Amanda Ledoux over the PA system. "I repeat, Code Croc! This is not a drill!" Dr. Leland felt a flash of irritation. Only Armand felt compelled to say not a drill, even though everyone would know it wasn't. Arkham didn't have drills, only emergencies. "All personnel, clear the halls and common spaces. Security only," Armand went on. "I repeat, security only." Dr. Leland turned to Dr. Quinzel and took her elbow. "We need to get back to my office," she began, but Dr. Quinzel wasn't listening. She was looking at the end of the hall where Killer Croc had just appeared in all his hideous, scaly glory. The Croc was definitely one of the more eye-catching Arkham inmates, as big as their biggest orderlies, with scaly green skin, a mouth full of nasty sharp teeth, and hungry reptilian eyes. Dr. Leland didn't know if normal crocodiles ever made growling noises, but Killer Croc certainly did. And it was one of the most frightening things Joan Leland had ever heard. The sound of an inhuman beast that had burst out of a nightmare to attack the real world. He had been a man once, and technically he still was. His DNA, though mutated, wasn't purely reptilian, and his brain waves were human. But none of that mattered when he was bounding towards you with a murderous roar. Oh, I need to turn the page for you guys. Let me do that. And I just realized we're not on full screen anymore either. Let me pop that back up. Oh, excuse me. I've been drinking Soleil with caffeine. It's a sparkling water. Carbonation makes me a little burpy. Where was I? The inmates in the rooms lining the corridor began howling and jeering. The lights were still flashing, the alarms were still whooping, and Armand Ledoux was still yelling on the PA. Joan Leland's world suddenly started tilting sideways. She ordered herself to get a grip. This was no time to feel dizzy, but the world went on tilting as Killer Croc came at them, his brutish gaze fixed on the tasty morsel that was Dr. Harley Quinzel. Dr. Quinzel casually reached out and took a fire extinguisher off the wall beside her. Dr. Leland had just enough time to wonder if the woman thought the place was on fire before Killer Croc leaped. With a smooth, practically casual motion, Arkham's newest staff psychiatrist swung the extinguisher forward and up, hitting Killer Croc squarely in his most sensitive spot. The Croc's roar went up 3 octaves as he collapsed on the floor a few feet from the round toes of Dr. Quinzel's tasteful black pumps, holding his crotch and rolling from side to side. A second later, the orderlies pounced on him with sedatives and wrapped him up in a canvas cocoon. "You okay, Doc?" one of them asked Dr. Leland, looking as boggled as she felt. She nodded as they carried the still whimpering Croc away. She turned to Dr. Quinzel, who was busily inspecting the extinguisher. "No damage," Dr. Quinzel said cheerfully, "but it'll have to be recharged next month." She put it back on the wall, then smiled brightly at Dr. Leland. "You were saying?" "I was," Dr. Leland said. Dr. Quinzel's smile became even brighter. "About the new neuroleptics." "Oh, yes!" Dr. Leland still felt a bit shaky, but at least the world wasn't tilting anymore. "We have new neuroleptics." "How new?" asked Dr. Quinzel chattily. "Some are recent releases," Dr. Leland said, "but a couple aren't on the market yet." Dr. Quinzel's eyes widened behind her no-nonsense glasses. "Tell me about those." Within 30 minutes, everyone on the premises had heard how the utterly unflappable new doctor had taken down the Croc in full attack mode, then stood over him chatting with Dr. Leland until the orderlies hauled him away. Oh, and she was also a knockout. Sitting in his room at the very bottom of criminally insane hell, the Joker was fascinated. He listened to several different accounts from both staff and patients. They all told the same story. A hot young blonde clocked the Croc in the family jewels without flinching, like he wasn't the most grotesque thing she'd ever seen. She was described variously as Helen of Troy, the goddess of Athena, a Valkyrie, and the reincarnation of an actress who was actually still alive. This was the woman he'd been waiting for, the Joker thought. Someone who wasn't going to bore him to death, who might actually be worth whatever time and effort it would take to destroy her. He couldn't wait. All right. So we got some interesting stuff going on here. Oh no, I'm not trying to go to the drive. I'm trying to go to the spreadsheet. A decent handful of new characters. We have Dr. Vincenzo. We already have Dr. Quinzel, or Harley Quinn, because she's been in the whole book so far. We got a Dr. Lopez. Oh, no. We already did Dr. Lopez. He was Dr. Antonio Lopez. Okay, so we're good there. See, we have Killer Croc, of course. And then we have Armand Ledoux. And I believe that's it for all of the new characters. I guess we got Joker, but I feel like I've got Joker. Yeah, we had Joker mentioned in chapter 6. So not that big a deal. Now, as far as stuff that makes this non-canon, Killer Croc's description matches TNBA more than it does BTAS era. I feel like I don't know if Killer Croc's like existence in this moment, in and of itself marks it as non-canon, right? Because like this could easily have been part of the tour before what we see in the in the cartoon, So I'm not going to I'm not gonna act like it's a big deal. But I do think that Harley's outfit is also different than what we see in the cartoon. Let me see if I can find a reference. Yeah, I think they only made the one model sheet for like Dr. Harley. If I remember correctly, like it's this same outfit whenever she's touring the asylum, as when she's dealing with Joker. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's the same outfit. And in the book, it says she's wearing a navy blue suit with a cream colored silk blouse, and that's not a. Well, actually, hold on. I mean, it's close to what we've got, at least in one panel of the comic. I guess the comic changes the color of her outfit. It's not it's not even the biggest deal ever, right? Like we've got like messed up bat suits all over the place, but like I'm trying to be thorough. Let me do a text wrap on the entirety of it all. And you know what, James, I'll do the align to the top just because you asked. Format text wrapping. Wrap. And then it says it's aligned to the top. Okay, there we go. Harley's. I hate that like the A is so close to the caps button that I keep accidentally hitting it. Harley's outfit matches the comic more so than the cartoon. There we go. I think that's it for chapter 7. So it's about time to hop into chapter 8. But what y'all got going on in the chat? Let's see. Lag isn't too bad today. Okay, well that's good. Finally catching you guys live. Hope you all are doing okay, staying safe, and trying to be sane. I've stopped trying to be sane a while ago. I just decided, let it loose. Harley being professional. No, it can't be, but it is. Code Croc. He's gonna throw rocks. Oh, I wish. He's stealing all of the Crocs in Gotham. Oh God, Croc. Y'all had a lot to say about Croc, but my chat keeps scrolling. Oh, code Croc. I thought you said something else. A different code, more X-rated. Never mind. Where's that inmate? Oh no! Oh no! He was mutated by Dr. Powers. Bum bum bum. So let's suppose this takes place in BTAS. Basically, Croc's skin is green. It wasn't Killer Croc's green in TNBA. Yeah, I mean, you guys got what I was going to say before. 245 page count. How long has he been reading this? Does he try to do the entire book in one stream, or is it cut up? I typically do 2 chapters a stream. Sometimes the chapters are a bit longer, and it takes 1 chapter. Basically, I just try to go for an hour. Mr. Wing or Jason Todd? Mr. Wing, 100%. Let me see. Killer Croc and Killa Croc, his more gangster counterpart. No. That white sure looks navy blue. Are you talking about when I pulled up where she's literally wearing navy blue? James, she's wearing navy blue right here. In this image, it's pulling up. It's pulling up a whole page. I didn't mean to do that. She's wearing navy blue right here, and there's white. She's got white over it. But that's a blue. I guess it is kind of backwards though, right? I guess the blue would be the blouse. I don't know. I don't know how women's clothing works. But there you go, James. Make another conundrum video just about Harley's outfit. Have fun. You can have that one for free. All right, let's go to chapter 8. Why is it not turning the page? There it goes. There it goes. All right. Okay. Harleen had been prepared to share an office with 1 or 2 other people. At Arkham, however, there was plenty of office space to go around. Her office was big, too. Not enormous, but you could open a door without it hitting the desk. There was even a window. This was Harlene's office, not Harley's. No one would have called the view scenic. Arkham Asylum was out in the middle of nowhere, just in an area where the landscape wasn't inspiring, even in summer. Just outside her window was a very old twisted tree. She wasn't sure what kind of tree it was. No one else seemed to know either. Dr. Leland had warned her not to touch the weird, misshapen leaves. The inmates who had been taking care of it had done something to it, and now the leaves produced a highly toxic substance, worse than poison ivy. Poison ivy's not capitalized there, so I'm guessing they're talking about, the plant and not the person. But then again, is she a plant or is she a person? James, do you have the answers? When the wind blew from just the right direction, the long, skinny branches at the end of one of the gnarled boughs would tap on her window like someone trying to get her attention. Harlene thought she could probably have climbed out onto it if she were ever trapped in her office and needed a quick getaway, which was a rather silly idea. Arkham Asylum was pretty... Outre? I don't know. That's a French word. Arkham Asylum was pretty... You know what is that word? What is outre? Unusual and startling. Outre is how it's pronounced. Okay. Got it. Now where did it go? There it is. Arkham Asylum was pretty... I'm still tripping over it. Arkham Asylum was pretty outre, and as she'd seen on her first day, it could even be dangerous. But thinking she might need to use the tree outside of her office to escape, that wasn't even crazy, only childish. It was more like something that would occur to a 7-year-old, not a woman 20 years older with a medical degree. On the other hand, it wouldn't have been a silly kid's fantasy for 7-year-old Harlene. The little girl hadn't been given to idle make-believe. She hadn't even believed in Santa Claus. When she had stared down a mobster's hired muscle on a pier at Coney Island in the middle of the night, it hadn't been Santa who had come to her rescue. There was a tap at the door, and Dr. Leland poked her head in. I thought we'd continue introducing you to the schizophrenics today. Harlene smiled. Ever since the Killer Croc incident, Dr. Leland had been her new best friend. Yesterday, the woman had taken her through the ward housing the least dangerous patients, those thought to have some chance of leaving Arkham. Harlene was far more interested in meeting patients closer to the Killer Croc end of the spectrum. But she was the new kid. She had to be patient. Okay, so page break right there real quick. I'm clicking the wrong tab. I just remembered a couple things that I didn't think to put from last chapter. Such as, I'm pretty sure Killer Croc doesn't normally go to Arkham in the DCAU. As well as there was mention of Helen of Troy, who I'm putting as a character because we know for sure she's a real person. Oh, excuse me. Hey. And then in pop culture, we got a mention of Goddess Athena and Valkyries. Which, they may very well be real within the DCAU. But for the sake of, note-taking, I'm just going to list them as pop culture references. Okay, so chapter 8 so far. We got to mention that Harley is now 27. And that was on page 62. Right? It says she's 20 years older than a 7-year-old. And we got to mention a Santa Claus real quick. So I'll throw that in the pop culture. All right. Where's the book? There's the book. The fact that you guys pay attention to details like these on every piece of possible canonical factoid is great. Yeah. We try to be very thorough. Hey guys, what we reading? Mad Love the novel? Yes sir. That is what we're reading. I still think that Mr. Wingus Hush, LOL, the real one got kidnapped and replaced secretly. Oh, that's possible. Making animation mistakes in the DCAU vid. I think we've discussed doing that. Apropos of nothing, has anyone been reading / keeping up with Strange Adventures miniseries by Tom King? I think that Ted has. I have not. What is your guys' favorite interpretation of Mad Love? The comic, TNBA episode, or the novelization? I haven't finished the novelization yet, but I'm enjoying all the extra stuff that they're putting in. There's a ton of like modernization as far as like where we are, I guess, from a moral standpoint, right? Like they kind of subverted the whole Harley sleeping with her teachers thing. They just did the whole like, hey, being, mentally insane doesn't make people villains. They're, the people with mental problems are more often victims. So I'm enjoying that they're doing that with this, on top of, the expanding things. This may end up being my favorite version by the end of it all. I think the comic and TV episodes are tied for me, but all incarnations are great. So Harley is at least 27. Yes. He went to Arkham in TNBA. Count Athena and Valkyries as characters. We've seen Valkyries in To Another Shore, and Athena is mentioned by Wonder Woman in some episodes. Okay. It's been a second since I've watched Justice League stuff. So Tom Kong's Strange Adventure. Wasn't a fan of King's Batman run, but all of his miniseries stuff at Marvel and DC. Something. Chat pause due to scroll. Is great. I enjoyed Tom King's Batman. I started around the wedding. But yeah, let me move Athena and Valkyries over to placate James. Athena mentioned. Valkyries mentioned. There we go. Delete that. Now anyway, back to reading. Back to what we're here for. 3 weeks later, Harleen was running out of patience. Dr. Leland still hadn't taken her down to Arkham's lowest levels, where the most difficult and dangerous inmates were kept. So this would have been before she ever met Joker, right? 3 weeks before. So we can completely take out the mention of her outfit and move that up really quick. And move this up really quick. That way we've got space under it. Okay. Now, let me full screen this again. 3 weeks later, Harleen was running out of patience. Dr. Leland still hadn't taken her down to Arkham's lowest levels, where the most difficult and dangerous inmates were kept. One of the other psychiatrists, a balding 40-ish man named Reginald Percival, Harley knew he wasn't from Brooklyn, he'd never have survived his childhood with that name, referred to those wards as storage. Dr. Percival kept his head down, did what was required to get through the day, then went home and drank. Drinking was the most common coping strategy for Arkham Asylum staff overall. It wasn't a great solution, Dr. Leland said, but it was legal without a prescription. Harleen thought the hardest thing about the job wasn't how dangerous the inmates were, or that most of them would never be well enough to leave. It was the fact that, unlike other hospitals where she had interned to be or been resident at, Arkham had no overall rhythm. There was routine meals, medication, therapy, recreation, bedtime, but each ward had its own. Nothing connected all the different areas of Arkham into a unified whole. The most dangerous patients might as well have been in another hospital. It certainly seemed that way from what Harleen read in their files. They all lived in worlds of their own without much in common, save the fact that they'd never leave. Arkham had no set visiting hours. Anyone wishing to see a patient had to make an appointment 24 hours in advance. Nobody at Arkham has regular visitors, Dr. Leland told her over a late lunch in her office. Their friends and family feel they've all suffered enough. Harleen nodded knowingly. As my abnormal psych prof used to say, people with antisocial personality disorders don't suffer from it. Everyone around them does. Flip the page. Good one, Dr. Leland said with a short, humorless laugh. Still, there seems to be a fair number of visitors, Harleen went on, mostly at night. Sometimes doctors bring in specialists for consultation, Dr. Leland said. Others are scientists doing research on certain kinds of pathology and their effects on the brain. She spoke in a brisk way, and Harleen knew she wanted to change the subject. Whenever possible, they make their findings available to us. She nodded at the black filing cabinet against the nearest wall. You can find them in the third drawer down. The folders are toward the back, in the section marked New Data. Why wouldn't they make their findings available to us? Harleen asked, honestly curious. If they're working on a new drug or trying to improve an existing medication, Dr. Leland said, information about work product is confidential. Even when they're beta testing on our patients? Harleen asked. No one beta tests anything on our patients, Dr. Leland said sharply. Our patients are either too atypical or too unstable. Harleen's impatience spurred her on. What about clinical trials? The last clinical trial we ever participated in was 30 years ago, before my time. There's a report on it in the bottom drawer of the same filing cabinet. It's not pleasant reading. Dr. Leland put down her fork and pushed her salad to one side. Is there something on your mind you want to discuss? I was just wondering about some of those scientists who come in around midnight with great big cases on wheels, Harleen thought. What's in them? What are they doing to the patients? Which patients are they doing it to? And who said it was okay? I'm just curious, Harleen said, especially if they're patients I'll be treating. Arkham Asylum is where criminals bottom out, Dr. Leland said. The people who end up here are truly lost souls. The whole world has washed its hands of them. Even those patients who have a genuine chance at rehabilitation and release. That's a chance, not a sure thing. But even if they actually make it, even if we send them out of the gates to catch the bus to Gotham with new clothes, a shine on their shoes, and a certificate declaring them legally sane, it wouldn't change the fact that they'd been in Arkham. In the view of so-called respectable society, anyone bad enough to be sent here is too damaged to ever be fixed. They might look like all the king's horses and all the king's men, put them back together again, but it's only a matter of time before they blow up real good. Then it's back to Arkham where they belong post-haste, toot sweet, and good riddance. Does that happen a lot? Harleen asked. Not as much as it used to, Dr. Leland said, but only because we don't discharge most patients anymore. When we do, we send them to a halfway house in Gotham City, which I personally think is the exact wrong thing to do. But I don't have any say in the matter. Harleen frowned. You think it's wrong to send them to a halfway house? No, said Dr. Leland. I think it's wrong to send them to Gotham City. There's something about Gotham that's no good for them. Harleen threw herself into her work, while trying to figure out if there was anything she could do to make Arkham less disjointed. The problem may simply... I read that weirdly. Harleen threw herself into her work while she was trying to figure out if there was anything she could do to make Arkham less disjointed. The problem may simply have been that Arkham was so understaffed. In Harleen's opinion, there should have been at least 10 full-time shrinks, and a dozen would have been better. But the board of directors held the purse strings, Dr. Leland told her, and the board said they couldn't afford more staff. The board must have been made up of rich people, Harleen thought. Only rich people were so stingy, and they wondered why people wanted to rob them. She'd have bet good money that if every board member threw in what they spent on a week of fancy dinners, they could probably have built a whole new wing with an indoor swimming pool. Well, okay, maybe the pool would have to wait till the next fiscal year. All right, real quick, I feel like there were a couple notes to take. Yeah, we've got mention. Since we're at a page break, it seems like a good time to do that. We've got a mention of 3 weeks passing on page 63. And I don't think we got a lot of new characters or anything. A lot of talk about scientists and stuff like that were coming in at midnight. The last clinical trial Arkham was involved in was 30 years ago, and that's on page 65. The page numbers I'm putting are from, my book rather than the PDF. Something I'm curious about. We've got Harley is in 27, right? But Harley was 18 the first time we got mention of the Joker. So he's been active for like 9 years. And in TNBA, in Beware the Creeper, it said that he's only been active for 7 years by that point in time, which is at the very least 3 years after this. So, gonna mark that down in the non-canon. Joker has been active for at least 9 years. But in Beware the Creeper, it's stated he'd only been around for 3 years after BTAS ended. And then we got a quick All the King's Horses and All the King's Men for the pop culture. Humpty Dumpty. Pop back in the chat, see what y'all are talking about before I hop back in. Myself partial to the TNBA episode because I like how in the flashback when Batman wrangles Joker, his costume is in perfect condition, whereas the Joker is a mess. I think it helps reinforce the idea that to Harley, Batman is just abusing the Joker as opposed to it being an even give and take. That's an interesting point. King Superman Walmart book was great placating James. Willett Cannon Batman Arkham series and DCAU Batman. We've actually discussed doing something with that, but we haven't quite figured it out yet. DCAU style is the best and easy to draw in. Wasn't there also some topical reference when she's 7 years old? That was late 90s. Yes, there was. That was a thing that happened. To Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Where is... And... Okay. Hopping back into the book. After a while, Harleen realized she was starting to drift. Worrying over all of the problems here kept her from focusing properly. She was getting to be like Dr. Percival. Oh yeah, shoot! I forgot to mark him in the notes. That was a name that came up. Where was he? Dr. Reginald Percival, who is 40-ish. Damn, it's like even when I try to break up the chapters and get the notes in the middle of the thing, I'm still forgetting stuff. And y'all aren't catching it for me. Shame on you. Shame on you. You should all be more helpful. Your whole reason to be here is to help me, or to have a fun time. I can't tell you why you're here. She was getting to be like Dr. Percival, just doing whatever she had to do for the day, then going home. Except she wasn't drinking herself into a stupor. The upside of her scrimping through college and med school on scholarship and loans was that she'd never been able to afford to go out drinking. Or even stay in with a six-pack. So, I flipped a page. So she'd never got into the habit of drowning her sorrows. If she kept on like this, however, she'd probably starve. The last thing she needed was a drinking problem. Harleen went back and reread a lot of patient files, with the idea of constructing a three-dimensional picture of Arkham. This time, however, she paid more attention to the patients designated as unusually high risks to themselves and everyone around them. They comprised a relatively small number of patients, and yet a great deal of Arkham's resources were committed just to keeping them contained. Even so, some of them managed to break out. The Joker in particular was especially skilled at engineering escapes, although for the life of her, she couldn't see how. They kept him in solitary in the sub basement, with at least one orderly stationed outside, and more if he seemed to be getting hyperactive. According to his file, the Joker had absolutely no regard for anyone's safety, including his own. He risked his life in terrifying ways, jumping out windows or off rooftops to what could have been sure death, and survived by crazy, dumb luck, finding something to land on, or in one case, actually having his clothes catch on a second-story gargoyle before he could hit the street. Of course, being a daredevil and a thrill-seeker went along with being a psychopath. As impressive as his split-second survival might be, other people didn't survive. Humor with a body count, Harleen reminded herself. Even so, she couldn't help being impressed. If only he could turn his energy towards something constructive and worthwhile instead of acting out just for attention. That was what it was, attention-seeking. Harleen was sure of it. He was like a great big kid yelling, "Look at me, look at me, look at me!" Well, a great big kid with a body count. But if you overlook the homicides, you were left with a great big spoiled 5-year-old in Clown White, which she remembered didn't come off. She couldn't recall what had happened, just that he blamed Batman for it. But that was no distinction. He blamed Batman for everything. Still, if she'd been stuck with a face like that, Harleen thought, maybe she'd have taken it out not just on Batman, but the rest of the world too. In any case, this was a mind she really wanted to delve into. Harleen let herself fantasize for a minute or two before reluctantly setting the idea aside. Dr. Leland would never go for it, she'd say. Harleen was too new. It was too risky. All things considered, Dr. Leland was doing the best she could with too little funding from an uncaring board. Harleen thought, but if she disappeared tomorrow, like some of the consulting doctors do, she wouldn't leave much of a legacy. None of the doctors would. That wasn't how Harleen wanted her own career to go. She never settled for good enough, and she wasn't going to start now. So how could she do more? Harleen reviewed the notes she'd made, and it suddenly hit her. In all the time Arkham Asylum had been protecting polite society from the forces of chaos and evil, very little consideration had ever been given to the special problems of being criminally insane and female. Time to make a difference, Harleen thought, and began work on a project she hoped would impress Dr. Leland. Harleen sweated over writing up her project, trying to get every detail exactly right. This wasn't like writing a dissertation or a research proposal. She wasn't even sure what Dr. Leland would expect to see. All she could do was make it clear that she wanted to help these women if it was at all possible. But would the decision be up to Dr. Leland, Harleen wondered, or would she have to show it to the board of directors, whoever they were, and get their approval? If they were anything like academic committees, If they were anything like academic committees, they might keep sending it back with requested changes, and oh God help her, that could go on for months. The possibility of a long delay made her seriously consider scrapping the whole thing rather than deal with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy was like kudzu. It took over and choked the life out of everything. But opting to do nothing just because of that was hardly productive. When she finally delivered the proposal, however, Dr. Leland told her to wait while she skimmed the 10 pages. Harleen had also put together a PowerPoint version just in case, then dropped it on her desk and told her to go ahead. The only thing I insist on is that there be an armed guard in the room and another right outside the door. This was a win. Common sense told Harleen to take it and run, but she couldn't help herself. Really? She said. I thought this would be harder. Dr. Leland smiled. As long as it doesn't require special shoes, human sacrifice, or extra funding, you can do almost anything, as long as you let me know about it. I must say, I quite liked getting a formal written proposal. I had no idea it was this bad. Harleen barely managed not to say it aloud. If there's nothing else you need, Dr. Leland went on, you can go ahead and convene your first meeting of the Female Inmate Support Group, or whatever you want to call it. Thank you, Dr. Leland, Harleen said with a mix of confidence and apprehension. I won't let you down. Should I come by and tell you how it went? Dr. Leland dipped her head non-committally. Or if you need a good cry? Dr. Leland saying that. Or if you need a good cry. Harleen laughed, and then realized Dr. Leland hadn't been making a joke. And that's the end of chapter 8. Let's see. I think the only thing really we got added in there was a mention of PowerPoint, which I will put under pop culture. Something I'm curious about, though, because I'm wondering if this setup works with the way that Harley's introduction to the Joker plays out in Mad Love, the DCAU version. I would look for that within the cartoon If it weren't for the fact that that could possibly get us a copyright strike, I'm not too entirely sure. So the comic will have to do just fine. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So she's meeting Joan Leland in this panel, and yeah, that happens in the cartoon. The Call Me Harley everyone does. And yeah, and then she goes through the tour. Okay, so yeah, so that is something else I need to add to the chapter 7. Harley's first tour of Arkham plays out differently than the cartoon and comic. Boom. Okay, so that's the notes. That's what we got, I do believe. What do we got going on? What do we got going on in the chat? It looks like there's been some stuff. It's funny. I really don't like the film Joker, but as I hear you read this, I got a flash of a nugget of a tiny kernel of an idea for a sequel. I'd make it an asylum/mental hospital film with Harleen treating Joker. It looks like she's being manipulated by him, but... And then I'm going to skip what Andrew said real quick because it looks like you're continuing your thought. But she's actually manipulating him and molding him into the larger-than-life persona of the Joker. She makes him as famous as Charles Manson, all from his cell, until they finally break out. It's not the most original idea for a sequel to Joker, but it wasn't terribly original or as groundbreaking and haunting to begin with. I still haven't watched Joker. But that would be interesting to kind of see the roles subverted. I'd be intrigued. Let's see. Andrew Cazzini says, Watchtower Database. In your opinion, does DCAU Superman end up with Lois? I know it's referenced in Batman Beyond Superman Adventures issue, but in Terry's time, it seems he has given up all aspects of Clark Kent, with all the Leaguers referring to him as Cal, let alone Starro having been attached to him for a while without being discovered. So, I wish I remember where I read this from. It might have been the DCAU resource cut content page. But there was talk at one point about having Lois in that Batman Beyond episode. She's bedridden and incontinent, and Clark has been looking after her. I don't know why. I don't know why they would do that to her character. Just a mere 40 years later. Bruce is obviously, at the very least, just a little older than her, and he's still, walking around with a cane. But that was something they were going to do and then cut it out because it felt too gross. So I would say that alone is probably evidence enough that they ended up together. Just the fact that they were, hinting at doing that. Let's see. BTS lover Greg, I'm drawing while listening to this. Let's see. I get where you're coming from. The Joker movie doesn't really feel like the character, and it's odd that he seems to have people that he represents. In my opinion, the Joker really needs to be more of a loner. Any elements in this novel so far to suggest Joker has a similar backstory to the Killing Joke? Not yet. We haven't really spent much time with Joker currently. We've had just a couple brief mentions of him. So you'll have to keep tuning in, Ted. I look for stuff in... Oh. in the cartoons all the time. But yeah, that scene is the same, and she meets Joker right after she meets Joan. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that was a... Oh, you're talking about like in the middle of stream. Got it. Okay. Well then maybe I don't need to worry too much about the copyright. Maybe it doesn't matter because like if you go to DC Universe, it's like in those tiny little boxes, and it doesn't catch it as easily. The entire film was an exercise in rehashing / homaging better 70s Scorsese films. What do you think of The Batman? I've only watched a couple episodes. It didn't really feel like it was for me, but I might give it a try again at some point. I don't know, but I got B-test vibes from the theme. I'm curious if you have seen Scorsese's films from the 70s, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, etc. If you have, there's no reason to watch Joker except for Joaquin Phoenix's performance. It's baby's first Scorsese light. You know, it's strange. Like, in college, I was like a really big movie buff type person, but I don't feel like... I don't remember ever watching any Scorsese stuff. I feel like most of the stuff I was watching was like 90s films, maybe. Trying to catch up on stuff that was, relevant when I was a child, but I wasn't allowed to watch due to my conservative upbringing. And of course, like a shit ton of 80s horror stuff. But no, I have not seen the Scorsese stuff. I'll have to give that a look at some point. I found out how to get movies pretty cheap through Vudu, so if these are available through that same program, I might give them a shot. But yeah, that's where we're leaving the book today. I might do another stream or two over the weekend. I've got a couple of ideas, and we're still trying to like test out to see stream times and stuff, like what ends up working the best to get the most people in here. But I still have a bunch of... Hold on. I'm stretching. So I still have this thing full of the UK exclusive I love to read Batman and Superman magazines that I need to scan in, and I'm thinking that might be something fun to do on stream. It's got like exclusive comics and like posters, which like if you there's a workbook in the middle that you take out, and the poster is on either side of the workbook, and it's got like some fun like exclusive short stories and stuff. These are like just treasure troves of DCAU stuff that like just never came out in America, and I was scanning a large amount of them at the start of quarantine, and it just got to be a little monotonous, so I quit, and there's I'd say less than half left to go of my personal collection of them. So I might do those on stream so that it feels like a community activity that I get to interact with you guys during, and it makes it a little bit less monotonous. I'm thinking about doing that. I was also thinking about last night, while I was, going to bed and having like, falling asleep thoughts. It would be cool to kind of do like timeline construction stuff on stream. I'm worried about doing that while, with the cartoons and stuff, because it's, it opens us up to copyright nonsense. But James just said that it might not be that big of a deal. Of course, like, I don't think I'd be able to watch, like, full cartoon episodes on stream. But, just, like, basic, like, continuity mapping and stuff could be a lot of fun to do on stream. So I might pop back in, over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and do one or both of those things. We'll figure it out. This was a lot of fun. I need to watch live more often. Yeah, for sure. Come through. Like it's Tuesday is James usually reading. He's been making his way through Justice League Adventures. Wednesdays is Ted doing the DCAU video games, and Thursdays is me reading through DCAU and or DCAU adjacent novels. Right? Like, I have no clue if Mad Love was intended to be part of the DCAU as a novel, but it is a novelization of something that came from the DCAU, so, that's why we're doing it. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun hanging out with y'all, and breaking this stuff down. I assume that James and Ted have fun doing it as well. It's always the same time, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, noon, Pacific Standard, until we have enough data to suggest that maybe we should do it some other time. Hey Matt, I've been meaning to ask, what do you think about the Sandman comic and the show that's coming out? You know what? I actually haven't read Sandman. I have picked up a couple volumes of it while I was out at Goodwill, and they're sitting on my shelf, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Quarantine time has been really weird for me. I've been like, before quarantine started, I was just like, okay, I'm going to bring. I have like so many comics on my shelf, and I was going to bring a different like a trade with me to work every day and just start making my way through them while at work. And then I lost my job, and and I've been home almost exclusively for the last 6 months, and while I'm home, there are so many different things that I can do, and I'm pretty sure, like, I hate to like do the self-diagnose thing, but I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I do not have health insurance to go get that checked out, but I remember like going back like into like elementary school and stuff. I had teachers who were telling my parents like, hey, you need to get this kid checked out for ADHD. You need to do it. He's showing the signs. And my dad was the kind of guy who's just like, no, that's a thing that's made up just to sell more drugs. And my mom tried to rationalize it as like it being an allergy thing or something. I don't understand how that works. But apparently there's like, I don't know if it's like scientifically proven, but there's like a theory at the very least that like ADHD type symptoms can be the result of allergic reactions. I don't know. But now that I'm sitting here at home, like, and I have all of these books, and I have all these video games, and I have all these movies, and all this TV, it's very hard to focus on like one specific thing. And I keep switching back and forth between stuff, and it kind of makes it difficult to even like do Watchtower Database stuff at sometimes, because I'm just like sitting here trying to focus on Watchtower Database stuff and being like, okay, let me get my notes, let me get, start working on a script, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, but wait, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go play Kingdom Hearts. Wait, I don't want to play Kingdom Hearts. I'm going to play Lego Marvel. Wait, I don't want to play Lego Marvel. I want to watch Dragon Ball. And just so many things end up like being shunted off and thrown to the wayside. And so that's why I haven't read Sandman yet. A long roundabout way to say, I haven't gotten around to reading my comics like I intended to. Timeline building streams would be pretty fun. Yeah, I that's something I really want to do. I've been, I had a free trial to bubble.us for a little while, which kind of like is a mind map thing, and I was using that to hold on. Let me pull that up real quick. Let me show you guys what I was doing on there, since I'm talking about it. I have like I have like a gift card from like a couple Christmases ago that still has like $2 left on it, and so I've been using it to like get free trials to things without it being able to actually bill me after the 30 days are up. Ba, 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 ba. That's my 17 different emails. Y'all don't need to know all that. Just load it. Just load it. Forget about bringbackzeta@gmail.com. I had an idea for something I wanted to do with that, and I forget what it is. I think it was going to be like a massive like bring back campaign that I was going to try to get people to send in video clips to use in a Watchtower database video or something. I don't remember. I made that like 2 years ago now, I think, and just haven't used it since. Yeah, load. Gotta love how slow my computer is. Okay, yeah. So I started one for DCAU continuity, but it's a mess right now. I'm not gonna let y'all see it. This is the one that I've like been putting in extra work on, and like I would like for once we have DCAU stuff kind of nailed down for it to kind of look like this. Just meant I brought up episodes for clips, but yeah, full episodes probably not so good. All our pre-pandemic plans flew out the window thanks to this stupid disease. It's been an insane year. Absolutely has. My niece is diagnosed with ADHD. Concerto was a drug that seemed to help her focus. 100% agree. Timeline streams. We need a timeline of your email history. Oh no. Yeah. Tap Tap Fish is that's. I was playing that really heavy during the start of this pandemic. I had been playing it back in like 2016 and ended up like falling out of it like once it got a real life GF. And my time was better spent elsewhere. Why won't it load? But I started playing it again like earlier in the pandemic, and then got really into it for a while and was like, wait, I'm wasting my time. Why am I doing this? Like, so I quit. But they made the game awful. Like, it's just ad after ad after ad. Is there really so much stuff in this presentation? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I was working on like a month ago. I don't know if you all saw the Halloween video we did last year, where I posited that there is a shared horror movie universe. Is it really gonna still be laggy like this? There's a lot of images that like I've put into this presentation, so it probably just needs to take time to load them all. It also might be the platform being like, hey, your free trial's up, buddy. Like, you're not gonna get everything that you put the work in for. And if that's the case, I'm gonna be a little upset. But I hope it's not the case. It's not even letting me click the buttons. It's not letting me click buttons to drag things around or nothing. Oh, that's upsetting. I'm trying. I wanted to kind of show y'all like what would go on in a timeline stream. but it doesn't want me to it doesn't want me to show you guys. What if I exit out of some things on my computer? Go away, Spotify. Go away, sound properties. Go away, spreadsheet. It's still just taking its time. Let's see. I only know about the Zeta Project show thanks to you guys. It's nowhere to be found, not even on DC Universe or HBO Max. Yeah, it's weird that it never made its way to DC Universe. But you can pick up the DVDs through Warner Archive. They've got made on demand DVDs. For those of you who still mess around with physical media. I tried to open it when you dropped the link on Twitter a while back, and it wouldn't load properly for me either. Well, drats. Yeah, I know. Like it does take its time sometimes, but I've never had it. Take this long. But essentially, like what I was doing was like, I built out a timeline, which is this whole thing up here where you see 2006, mid 2000s, etc., etc., etc. And I started placing things, based on like the timeline clues, and then that would be these main entries here, and they were all color coded for like their different franchises, right? So Nightmare on Elm Street would all be the same thing, Chucky would all be the same thing, etc., etc., etc. But then under this, if I was able to scroll down, like there would be all of the notes needed to help cement its place where I put it, and then if necessary, like I would put commentary about like, hey, this thing treats XYZ horror franchise as if it's fictional, but it's this same franchise acts as if it's real at this point, blah blah blah. So we can assume that maybe there are movies in this universe based off of real life events or something. Oh, /verse Chucky just turned the correct color. It just turned the correct color, so we got some progress. But yeah, I mean, essentially just a timeline stream would just be mapping all of this shit out. Kind of like how I've got it here. If this would load properly. What if I exit out of the background music? One less thing to stop taking up time and space. Yes? No? No? No. It doesn't want to go. It doesn't want to go. And I'm since that's trying to load, it looks like the lag is increasing on the stream. So that's great. I'm guessing that OBS and Bubble.us are fighting each other. Oh, Hatchet / just turned the right color. So it might not work on stream. It might not work out to stream timeline stuff in this way. I'll have to figure something out, because that does sound like a really fun idea to do if I can get it to work. But as of right now, it doesn't seem to want to work. So I don't know. Maybe just over the weekend we'll do like some scanning streams, some general hanging out stuff like that, and just have a fun time doing that. And I will try to work out bugs to do timeline construction streaming at some point later on down the line. You trying to do more than your laptop can handle? Probably, but you would think, a laptop that is this current wouldn't have a hard time loading one website and running one other program. Oh, Oh, there you go. Some things are starting to pop in the right colors. Nightmare on Elm Street stuff is popping the right colors. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I'm just kind of bummed that wasn't loading as quickly as anticipated. But I guess this is where we'll end it off today because once again we were talking about going on a bike ride, and I haven't had lunch, so I want to get lunch and go ride my bike, lose a little bit more of this weight. We James just sent me our Halloween video for this year, and I look kind of chubby in it, and I don't want to look kind of chubby anymore. Right? I miss when I was hot on the Watchtower database rather than when I was chubby on the Watchtower database. Not to say you can't be hot and chubby. If you are chubby and you like the way you look and other people like the way you look, it's great. I just have a couple, body image issues. And I'm not trying to put the way that I view my body onto other people. Right? Be happy with the skin you're in. And if you're not happy, then just put in the work. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of the things I need to take care of. I will pop back in. I'll pop back in over the weekend. You will be able to figure out when and where, over, via Twitter or the best place. If you're not on the Watchtower Database Discord server, that's going to be where you're going to want to go to find out everything we're doing. Oh, look, there's behind the scenes. That's going to be where you want to go to be sure you don't miss anything, just because we ping everyone every time we go live. So if you're not in the Watchtower Database Discord, get in there. I'll drop the link on Twitter in a little bit. But yeah, that's it. Y'all take care. I love y'all. I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat. Goodbye.